Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first virtual meet and greet for Recycle Colorado. We have an amazing turnout of people here, our representatives and senators. Looking forward to seeing what Recycle Colorado does and what the state of Colorado does with our industry and with really invigorating the economy and business. So welcome to everybody. What we want to do, and I put this in the chat, is to make this as interactive as possible. So please, please chat me, let me know if you want to come to the front. We will pull you in and you can get some face-to-face time with these lovely people. Certainly feel free to ask them a question or pay them a compliment. You know, we just proudly pushed through Senate Bill 55. Yes, that the governor live streamed, and we have quite a few people here that not only repped it, but also were part of pushing that through and advocating for getting that end market development going. So really, thank you guys. Hats off, feather in your cap to actually push a bill through in this time. But really, it's an important bill that is going to be near and dear to us thriving, right, in the face of adversity. So thank you guys, and I'd like to do a round robin for introductions, please. If you want to just say the region you represent and if you're up for election, I know that's a big hot topic right now, and what part of the recycling industry you are most passionate about. All right, if you guys could unmute, and we'll start with Senator Tammy Story, please.
I feel honored to go before the majority leader. I'm Tammy Story, and I represent Senate District 16. It's west of Denver primarily, but it's the mountains of Jefferson County. It's southern Boulder County, all of Gilpin County further west in the foothills, and then also the southwest corner of Denver County. And I'm delighted and honored to be a part of the Senate, and absolutely thrilled that we have a majority and are able to accomplish so many great things because we have a majority in the Senate and the House and a Democratic governor. So it certainly makes it easier to make some forward progress, especially relative to environmental causes. So, and I am not up for re-election this year, so not until 2022. So that just allows me time to work on supporting others' races during this campaign season. And so that's pretty nice to not be in charge, but to still be able to help out. And relative to the recycle world, there's so many different facets, of course, where we can pour our time, but I was a prime sponsor of Senate Bill 55, the end market recycling bill to incentivize that effort and help bring some new entities to the field here in Colorado to start utilizing our recycled materials and creating new products with them. And it will also help us stimulate our recycling efforts here in Colorado, which is also a really good thing. We don't recycle nearly as well as we should. And so hopefully this bill will help us get there in a better place. So I'm delighted to be a part of that bill as well. It came out of our interim committee last summer that Representative Lisa Cutter chaired, the Zero Waste and Recycling interim committee. And so that was pretty fabulous. And then also I sponsored another bill last year that was a solar gardens bill to just expand the scope and the capacity of community solar gardens. So that was pretty cool. And I'm a big fan of the composting effort as well. So I expanded beyond being just a favorite of the sort of recycling world, but the composting thing also is pretty cool. And I'm doing that in my own home. And it definitely cuts down on the amount of trash and the amount of food waste that would go down the disposal or to the dump, the landfill. So pretty pleased to be able to be part of a community effort with that. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Senator Story. And you got first billing because you were the first one on here. So, but But yes, Senator Fenberg, why don't you start?
Sure. Well, thank you all for being here. And more importantly, thank you for all the work that you do in our communities around the state every day. So my name is Steve Fenberg, and I represent Senate District 18. That is in Boulder County. And so I represent the entire city of Boulder, plus several of the smaller towns around Boulder, like Nederland and Jamestown, Lyons, and then I also have some parts of unincorporated Boulder County. And I am up for re-election this year. I was first elected in 2016, and I'm up this cycle, but I'm hoping I can spend most of my time working in other races and things like that, and hopefully I'll be okay in my re-election efforts. And I'm mostly working to help re-elect Kevin Priola, since he seems to be on vacation somewhere. But my favorite part of the recycling industry is my very own homegrown EcoCycle, which is an amazing organization that really has done a ton of great work, not just in Boulder County, but I think set the bar high and is a trendsetter and has been doing this work for a very long time. And it's always good to have them as a partner in the community. And thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Senator. We'll move to Representative Froelich, please. And she actually, I've got to say, represents Greenwood Village, where I live. Take it away.
To keep the green in Greenwood Village. Thank you very much for having us all here. Look forward to our discussion. I am Representative Meg Froelich, and I do represent Greenwood Village, Englewood, Sheridan, and Cherry Hills. I'm very proud and privileged to be part of the State House, the People's House, where we have a majority female caucus and the largest LGBTQ caucus, the largest Black caucus, and the largest Latinx caucus in Colorado history. And these are exciting times. In terms of recycling and the environment, we just had a actually quite wonderful discussion on a green town hall. I don't know whether to have my feelings hurt or not, but we're getting more people to come on the Zoom town halls than ever came to eat my cookies and drink my lemonade and meet me in person. So maybe that's a good thing for the future. But we had a wonderful discussion connecting individual action to our important climate change goals and needs. So that's really where I think today's discussion and this whole summit makes a huge, important difference, because I love talking trash, and it is a big component about how we're going to tackle our climate change challenges. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so, so much. And we will move on to Representative Lisa Cutter, please, who is also actually speaking at our summit later this week. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. I get really excited about recycling and all the things, talking trash, like my friend Meg. I represent House District 25, which is I share a lot of, well, Senator Story is my senator for almost my entire district. So it's west of C470, the foothills, Evergreen, Conifer, Morrison. Beautiful area, and I want to keep it green and keep it beautiful. I got really excited when I was running for office. Everyone always wants to know what you care about and what don't I care about, right? There's a million things to care about, but I got really, really excited about recycling and environmental policy in particular. Right after I was elected, that's what I knew I wanted to pursue, and hounded a lot of people and had some nice conversations with some folks here on the line. I know Senator Winter was really helpful and pointing me in the right direction. And yeah, so I've been thrilled to be able to champion some legislation, including SB 55, which I also know, I think Kevin Priola maybe chimed in a little bit late, but I know he was worked super hard on that too, along with Senator Story and Representative Arndt and I. So we're really excited to get the recycling end markets across the finish line. Unfortunately, another one that I worked on with Representative Froelich coming out of the Zero Waste Committee was the compost bill. We're going to bring it back. So it's hard to really pinpoint what particular policy or thing about recycling excites me, but I love the intersection. I think it matters in so many areas. Being a good steward, it affects the economy, right? We can grow our economy that way with the end market recycling bill. We have great economic opportunities. We have, it impacts food supply and food waste and soil health, and all of these things work together and can really dramatically, bottom line, dramatically impact climate change, mitigate climate change. And so I just love the way all those things sort of come together. I love working with EcoCycle too. I'll echo Senator Fenberg there. And we have a wonderful organization in my district and Senator Story's district called EASY, Evergreen Alliance for Sustainability Plus You. And I really enjoy working with them and speaking to them a lot. So yeah, I'm excited to be here and excited to continue working on these policies, which I most definitely will do.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I am up for re-election.
Yes, she is.
So when I get re-elected, I'll be excited to work on these things.
Thank you, Representative Cutter. Okay, we have Representative Jeni Arndt, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Jeni Arndt, and I represent West Fort Collins and Colorado State University's in my district. I am up for re-election as my last election for state representative, and then I'll be turned out. I work a lot in the water field, but I've also recycling. I think I've been to every Recycle Colorado reception as long as I've been there. My favorite is the scrap metal. It has to be scrap metal, guys. I love that. Toured a lot of those. And I love landfills. We're having a new one in Larimer County that's going to be very progressive and green. I really like that. And my favorite institution or sort of thing is, and I was just up there yesterday asking at Colorado State University, their food service has won a lot of awards for, first of all, reducing food waste, and then the food waste they have their own digester and lots of awards and so forth for those efforts. So I was up there yesterday asking them, you know, given the way we're distancing and students are no longer going to just come in through the cafeteria the way they used to and eat as much as they wanted or could. I don't know, probably the same thing when you're that age. How they're doing it. So they've made these new apps and they're pre-ordering. And I asked them, I said, is your food waste down? They said, tremendously, right? So they said, we can't really tag it on the back end the way we used to, because a lot of them are in this recyclable, compostable to-go containers. But in terms of the production of the food in the kitchen's way down in terms of waste. So that's my favorite institution. Scrap metal is probably my favorite material. And I love what you guys do, and thanks for having me.
I love that, learning about that. Thank you so much. Senator Faith Winter, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you to all the work that everyone in the coalition does, because really we couldn't pass the bills and make a difference in our waste diversion that we've been able to do without coming together as a team. And I know that we can come together in the future to increase our diversion rate. It's a huge challenge, and we have done a lot of good things, and there's a lot more work left to be done in order to increase our diversion rate. I've been working on recycling for a long time as a city councilor before I was a state representative or a state senator. And those were some of the biggest fights that I had as a city councilor. I had no idea how incredibly passionate people were about their waste provider until we took that fight on. And so I really look forward to all the innovative ideas you all have to increase our diversion rate. I don't think that I have a favorite part, right? Because we need the end markets, we need the supplies in the front end. And so I don't know if I have a favorite part of the recycling ecosystem because they all have to work together. And so I look forward to hearing the policy solutions, and thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much. It's so true. We actually have one of our board of directors who works for Swire Coca-Cola always says, who knew people were going to be so sensitive about their waste? So, but it's truly a change though in the definition of what's waste and what's material, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing that progress. And last but not least, Senator Kevin Priola.
Hello, everybody. I apologize for running behind. Thanks for having me today, and it's been an honor to work on these issues in the prior sessions. Senator Story, I heard her mention Senate Bill 55 from last session, and also Senate Bill 192, worked with Senator Winter in 2019, as well as Senate Bill 124, even back in 2016, the waste metals bill. And I remember, I don't have the bill number, but I even worked with Senator Heath, I believe Senator Fenberg's predecessor, on a metal recycling bill before that. So it's an issue that's near and dear to my heart from my greenhouse days and personal practice, and I'm looking forward to looking forward on ways of improving on what we've done for Adams County. I've heard about this issue talking to folks, especially out east where they bury a lot of the trash. And I've even received hugs and kisses from constituents out there that are happy that they're working to reduce the amount of traffic that comes with all the waste dumped in the eastern part of Adams County. So thanks again for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We've got a really lively audience, and we have a few people that would like to say hello and ask questions, if you don't mind. Let's see here. We have actually Suzanne, and I believe you know her. She is someone that you work very closely with, EcoCycle, and she is really excited that you're here and would like to say hello. So let me find her and bring her to the front. Meanwhile, we do have a Q&A that we can throw out there. It is regarding location. So I'm located in Cannon City, and it's disappointing that there is no representation from my region present, but not surprising. In your combined experience, what is the best way for a constituent to influence their representatives? Who wants to answer that one? Okay, go ahead, Representative Cutter.
Well, there's lots of ways, and I think it's probably different for everyone, but I will say that when someone is approaching me that may have a different philosophical perspective, I just appreciate it when they approach it thoughtfully. A lot of people get mad and angry, and that seems like an obvious thing to say, but it's just easier to talk to someone who says, hey, we may have some differences. I'd like to share my perspective with you. That's much easier. I think personally, the forum emails, I mean, we get lots of those, and certainly the volume, does kind of make an impression, but I think one-on-one conversations are always much better. Personal emails are always much better, especially if you identify that you're a constituent. Then I always, that perks me up for sure, and I'll pay more personal attention rather than having my aide do it or something. And phone calls. So I guess the lesson there is for me anyway, is more personal contact. Stop by my office, in person, whatever. That makes more of an impression on me.
Great, thank you very much. Great. We have Suzanne coming in.
Super fast. Let's echo that super fast. When you're thinking about the last time you asked someone to do something for you, which is essentially what you're doing, right? You're asking us to vote a certain way. Think about the relationship that you built, asking that person to do that favor. And you probably put time and investment and respect into that relationship. And it's the same thing for working with legislators. We're just average people, and building up a relationship is how to get things done.
Hi, Suzanne.
Excellent. Good morning, all of you. Oh, it's still morning. I just wanted to hop on and say on behalf of EcoCycle, but I think I speak on behalf of all of Recycle Colorado, just how excited and thrilled we are to be partnering with all of you. I think the trajectory of the relationship and the engagement of the legislature in recycling issues has just been growing by leaps and bounds the last few years, and it's in large part because of the group of people I'm looking at on my screen right now. The degree of awareness and commitment and sophistication in terms of the complexity of the issues is really heartening, and we really, really appreciate your engagement on these topics. And if you look back the last couple of years, I mean, passing the Front Range Waste Diversion Enterprise Fund, like that was a big step forward. And then last year, the End Markets Development Bill, we've been talking about that for years, and you guys finally delivered it. And all the work that the Zero Waste Interim Committee did I think has laid the groundwork for hopefully passing the organics management bill this year, and so on. And so I just want to say, just it makes all of the difference to have you guys with your shoulder to the wheel. And we're really excited about transforming Colorado from being sort of a zero waste laggard to becoming a zero waste leader. And it's all about us working together with all of you. So thank you very, very much. And I guess I wanted to ask a question, which is simply, we've tried to increase our presence down at the legislature with a, an annual lobby day that organized by Recycle Colorado. And being present, we have a lobbyist that we all pay for. But what other advice do you have for us to help support you guys as you work on these issues? We're all ears if you have other ideas.
Thank you, CJ.
I'll say some points, and I concur with Senator Winter. I think it's just about continually educating and building relationships, not just with legislators, but with city councils and public groups. I've been a member of Commerce City Rotary for 20 some years, and would love to have the opportunity to put you in touch with some of the Rotary groups to just build awareness.
One thing is we are looking at implementing 1261, which is the climate change goals bill. And I think a lot of times recycling and waste diversion is left off the table as one of the solutions, but we know it can have a huge impact on emissions and climate change. And so making sure that recycling is part of the implementation of that bill is really important.
Anybody else want to comment? Okay, we have someone else here, Jonathan Greenspan. He is actually very active with Recycle Colorado, and he does a lot of great volunteer work for us as well, and has helped put together pieces of this summit. So thank you, Jonathan. Go ahead and ask.
How is everybody today? I'm very glad that you helped join us and are able to communicate with all of us and connect with us more than, in addition to what you already do. My question for all of you, actually, or any of you that want to take the dare to answer it, is I live in Telluride, Colorado. On the deep western slope, we do not have the same recyclable aspects as the Front Range, and we don't have the same resources by a long shot. To give you an idea, just for our haulers, it's a 390-mile round trip by the time they point of origin to the time they get back to their barn and with their recyclables dropped off or their landfill material. We've been working very hard in a single-use plastics ban here. We know about the preemption, and we just don't have any ability to recycle plastics within many hundreds of miles, and it's not cost effective. How do you feel about the preemption bill, bringing it back? I know Representative Woodrow was working on it, and the ban on single-use plastics and using that as a opportunity to move forward for communities like ours that it's cost prohibitive. And thank you very much for attending.
So that, thank you for the question, Jonathan. That was, yes, our bill on preemption. And I think the death of it in the Senate committee was a surprise. Maybe wasn't great. So I think there's definite interest in bringing it back and working it differently to make sure it doesn't end in the Senate. We'll have a different makeup of that committee, and we'll have different folks in office. So there's potential there. And then in the mix are the bills that were in the mix pre-COVID. So we had a plastic bags attempted solution and Representative Cutter's styrofoam, which I think Senator Story as well, and maybe, anyway, all the folks on here, Rep. Arndt was in the talks as well. So I think there's a couple different, and we were certainly making the case to leadership that this was a both and approach, that we wanted to allow municipalities to go farther than anything that we were going to propose, as well as trying to really make a dent at the legislative level. So I do hope for something in this upcoming session.
Representative Cutter?
Thanks, and thanks, Rep. Froelich. And yeah, I'll just add, we definitely, I've been talking with some other coalitions too, and we'll definitely be pursuing some and chatting with Rep. Froelich and Senator Story and all the people on this call about other initiatives. We will definitely be pursuing some additional plastics legislation. I feel your pain that it is a unique challenge in your area. So look forward to tackling some more things.
Yes.
I would just say, yeah, some of these are the kind of bills that I think will be introduced every year until they pass, right? Like we won't see them just, people won't just lose interest. And so I do expect them to come back. And I think especially the preemption one, it just makes so much sense. I think it's palatable for a lot of folks who might not be with us politically on some of these issues because it's about local control, right? And that crosses party lines at times, and often, can just be seen as trusting the local communities to make the decision for themselves based on their values and their needs that are present there. So I think it was unfortunate that that bill didn't get out of committee last year. I think, the legislative process is clearly messy, and it is. I think there were some political calculations on that bill with some of the members on the committee, and it's a good example of making sure that we are watching for blind spots. And not, at the same time, also for those of us who advocate for these policies, not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. And it's important to get these policies across the finish line, even if it means we have to build upon them to improve them down the road. So I think we will get it done this coming year. I feel pretty confident in that. And I think some of these other more specific material bills will be brought back as well.
That's an excellent point, Senator Fenberg. Thank you. Senator Story, did you want to comment as well?
Yeah, just briefly. I'm right on board with all the things that were just mentioned. And I also think that clearly with the impact of COVID, popping up in the middle of our session, it really impacted our ability to carry forward with bills that we believed, many of us believed were important, all the ones that we had in midstream. But there was this greater need at that moment to focus on the healthcare issues and economic issues of that, really extreme time. And while we have not resolved those in Colorado, I think there's also recognition that we do have to continue to move forward with our environmental issues and concerns and pass good legislation that addresses those issues too. It's not like we can just sit on our heels and wait for a better time, because we're running out of time in that regard. So I think, we will be able to continue to address economic issues and healthcare issues, knowing that that's what we're walking into still in January, as well as pick up where we left off with some of these really important environmental and recycle bills too.
Right, you're absolutely right. Finite amount of space and finite amount of materials. We do have a question as well. Oh, I guess that was taken down. So we have a, okay, Randy would like to come to the front. Randy Mormon with EcoCycle, and ask you a question as well. So,
Kristen, you may want to look in the answered part, because I typed some thoughts and I didn't mean to sideline the questions. So if those folks want to ask those questions broadly, I didn't mean
thanks for letting me know, Meg.
delete
I'll
them.
go grab that. Okay, I'll go grab that. Thank you. And Randy Mormon has just joined us to say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate you taking the time, and also want to say thank you for championing our issues, especially around recycling and zero waste in Colorado. I think we've made some huge headways over the past couple of years, and that is so much to all of your efforts. So thank you, thank you. My question is really related to COVID-19 and how that disrupted the session last year. So I wanted to know from you all what recommendations you have for us as an organization to really keep up our momentum in this new environment, and how the legislative process is going to look, you know, in the next session, and what recommendations you have for us to work through that.
I guess I'll jump in real quick. A couple of initial thoughts, and these might be obvious, but you know, I think there are two factors to keep in mind when it comes to the moment we're living in and how it is going to impact the legislature. One is funding, right? Our budget is just under an immense amount of pressure, and we expect that pressure just to grow. Next year is going to be a very tough budget year, just like this year was. And depending on if anything happens in Washington, D.C., which is a huge unknown right now, you know, we're going to be having some very difficult decisions next year, just like we did this year. So if you have a policy idea, if you want to move something forward, doesn't mean it's dead on arrival if it costs money, but it is definitely a more sensitive factor now than it's ever been. So if something costs, you know, $5,000 or whatever, something minimal, I think that's one thing. But if it's a large grant program or something like that, I think those are ones that unfortunately just they're going to be difficult to prioritize. The other issue is a little softer and a little more like amorphous, and that's just simply the mood and sort of the tone. Right when the crisis happened, it was, you know, we were living in this very devastating time, and there were so many unknowns. It was hard to justify some of these pieces of legislation that we were prioritizing at the beginning of session, when all of a sudden in the news and the headlines are about people dying and people suffering, businesses closing. And it just seemed like some of these bills, albeit important, it just didn't seem appropriate to be having the debate about some of these issues when we had this crisis on our hands. And obviously I think next session is going to be different, but the crisis is still going to be there, especially the economic fallout. So I think that's the other thing we have to keep in mind, is just sort of thinking through when we as a community that advocate for these issues are making the asks, and what it is and what is the context of what else is going on in the legislative world. And so, you know, I guess what I would say is, before groups put together and solidify their agendas or, you know, make big decisions like that, maybe just pick off a few legislators, talk to folks in the lobby, and just sort of get a sense of how certain policies will be received before you really go, you know, all the way down that path and lock in your agenda, and just sort of make it more of a partnership with the legislature, so that we can sort of go into the session knowing what the top priorities are that we really want to get across the finish line, knowing that some of them may have to wait for later. But I'm always a firm believer that it's good to prioritize your asks and make sure you really get the most important things done that you want to get done. And then you move on further down the list the following year, right? So I would encourage folks to have those conversations early before legislative session starts.
Great, thank you very much. Anybody else want to say something?
Sure.
I just think it's important. I agree 100%, of course, with Senator Fenberg. And I just think it's really important to, like, I would view anything that we want to move forward next year, the really pressing issues, you see, are the economy. So any way we can relate it to economic development, which is what SB 55 did. And then I think that's why we were successful in getting that one to push through. And that's why we felt okay advocating for it, because we knew that it had long-term implications that way. And then also, climate change. I mean, we're reading all about, you know, the Post had the headline the other day about climate change coming home to Colorado, drought, fires, extreme weather. I mean, there's a lot to be concerned about there. And so I think that to the degree we can look at the policies we're promoting through those lenses and the urgency around those things, and link them together and be really mindful of that, I think that'll help get that agenda forward.
Fantastic. Senator Priola, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to tie this issue with the prior one about local control and fees on, you know, single-use items. I spent last session trying to have some conversations with restaurants and the private sector about using market forces to dissuade the use of single serve items, plastic items, so on and so forth. And with the relatively simple accounting practice, subsidized paper bags or the lack of asking for or ordering things like straws, because it is a problem, but I'm not quite there yet in wanting to ban things and having a certain segment of the population kind of kick back and be able to marginalize the movement for recycling, which I think is noble and needed, especially with the climate issues we're struggling with. And by the way, I heard yesterday that this is the warmest August in Colorado history.
It is pretty hot. We do have a Q&A that I'd like to pitch to you. Vermont just banned food scraps and trash. Do you think Colorado will catch on and do this in the near future? Meg's shaking her head no. Representative Froelich, would you like to say something?
It's a cool idea, and certainly methane at our waste facilities is a huge contributor to our global warming problem. But again, it goes back to being a local issue in that our trash is controlled locally, and if we don't provide residential compost alternatives, so we don't have curbside compost pickup, then it's not really going to happen that we can tell people that they can't put their food waste, especially in urban and suburban areas, put their food waste in their garbage. But it's a cool, and Vermont's cool. A lot of times they lead the way. Maybe we'll get there.
Senator Fenberg.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Rep. Froelich. I think this is one of those issues that, not to say we have no role as a legislature, but I do think this is something that we need cities to take the charge. And I do think it's an issue where when enough cities do it and it becomes the norm, that's when the state can sort of, for better or for worse, sometimes we're a lagging indicator of where the public mindset is. And I think after several cities have moved forward on this and normalized it, I think then it's much more likely that the state could pass something statewide. But it does, to me, feel like something cities need to lead on and show that this is something they're willing and interested in doing before it becomes a statewide mandate.
I agree with Senator Fenberg. And I also think, and I've had the idea for years about having some of the larger municipalities along with the state lead the way. And maybe an idea is requiring the waste companies that have the contracts with the larger municipalities, say 50,000 above, to also provide a composter to each resident. They already provide the trash receptacle and the recycling receptacle that sits in the front of the street once a week. Why couldn't they also provide a composter that sits in the backyard for the rest of the week? So, an idea like that, and we'd have discussions with our waste friends, and it should help all concerned.
Senator Winter?
Oh, I was just going to add in, I agree with everything that's been said. And, political reality is really important. And Colorado is a Western state, and Western states are very different from Eastern states, especially on this issue. One, because we have so much space, but also we have a libertarian streak. And I think every Democrat or Republican in the state has this libertarian local control streak, and as do our constituencies. And so creating solutions, keeping that philosophy in mind is really important. But there are ways we can come together and solve it. It's just going to look different than it did in Vermont.
Senator Story, and we have about 4 minutes left. I had fun, you guys, so Senator Story, please take it away. You started this, let's end it.
Well, just real quickly on the same topic, I think we'll get there and we'll improve in our ability and our commitment to composting, but I think it is going to be a long-term process. And I think, like has been said, I think Senator Fenberg mentioned it also about, getting cities on board and doing it, and maybe even coalitions within cities, restaurants, kind of taking the charge and in a particular area, and showing that that works and promoting it will help, move others. And the more of us that get on board over time, I think it will become a more popular effort that, others can get on board with when we have all the infrastructure in place. So I think it can happen just like recycling, but hopefully much faster, because how long have we been recycling in this country? Like since the 60s or something, probably earlier. And we're still pretty slow and behind in that realm. So we just have to work on it with more urgency, I think.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time showing up here in this time. It's not the time to sit down, right? It's the time to have a voice and to show strength and solidarity and really problem solve together. So thank you all. I know we will do great things in the near future. Good luck with the election. Really appreciate it. I did put in the chat, we have a VIP reception awaiting for the first gentleman, Marlon Reese. So that's following this event here. I put the link here as well. Feel free to pop in and say hello there as well. And enjoy your day. Again, bravo, hats off. I know this isn't the last time we'll see you or work with you, but thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Thanks for all you do.
Great.
It was
Thanks,
fun.
everybody.
Our first virtual meet and greet.
It was great to be on board with all the coalition too. We're really grateful for all of your support. EcoCycle, Recycle Colorado, Environment Colorado, all the teams. It's really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.